Welcome. I'm Ann Gibbs, Associate for Ministry Vitality, and I am here with Judy Jaggard of Rock Prairie Presbyterian Church and Lee Tan of Forest Park Presbyterian Church, both elders and both very active elders in our presbytery. And we're here today to talk about empowered servant leadership. Judy, Lee, welcome.
Thank you.
It is so good to have you both with us. And I'm going to just start by telling people like a brief history of your awesome service. Judy, you currently serve both on council and as the moderator of the Presbyterian Planning Commission, correct? You've been vice moderator and moderator of the Presbytery. You've also served with the Presbytery's Ghana partnership for years. Lee, you and I go way back. You're like my brother from another mother in the Presbytery because we've served first on session partnerships when we had that. We've been GA commissioners together. We were moderator and vice moderator together, and then you were moderator for longer than anybody in the history of the Presbytery because I had to leave early to take this job. And you've served on council and now serve as the moderator of the Commission on Transitional Ministries. So you just have this awesome dossier of empowered servant leadership already. And I want to start by just saying thank you to both of you for all of that. But one I want to start asking is, what made you say yes in the first place? That first time somebody called you from the nominating commission and said, hey, we've got this thing we want you to serve on. What empowered you to say yes? And after that, what makes you keep saying yes?
I'll go. So I'm pretty sure the first thing that I was asked to be on was the nominating committee way back when. And I said yes because being Presbyterian was kind of new to me. I grew up UCC and I married into the Presbyterian Church. And I was intrigued by this, middle level of the church. And so I wanted to get involved and I wanted to see more and meet more people. And so that's why I said yes.
And why do you keep saying yes?
So I keep saying yes because I have
Presbytery junkie. I know.
I am. But I have made great friends over the years, pastors and ruling elders. And I just love spending time with them and I love giving back to the church. I feel like it's given me so much at this level. I mean, as you say, we served in General Assembly. We went together. I was on a GA commission after that. And it's been a wonderful experience, and I want to try and give a little bit of that back, the joy that I've gotten.
Judy, how about you?
Well, I have an interesting beginning with Presbytery. My mother, long ago, with another woman from our church, always went to the Presbytery meetings. Always.
So your legacy.
Sort of, I guess. I mean, and she'd tell me about things and I couldn't go with her because, of course, I was teaching full time. But then when the Ghana group started getting a little more active right at the beginning, I thought, oh, I'd like to go to Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
So someone, Kathy Manthai, to be exact, said, Judy, why don't you join the Mission Partnerships Committee?
Mm-hmm.
So I started out there, and then I became part of the Ghana group, and then I graduated to the nominating committee, and I was on that for many years. And I also went as a General Assembly commissioner. And I also had the opportunity to go to a peacemaking conference at Ghost Ranch in New Mexico, which was absolutely perfect. And so that I got started with Kathy and I just kept going and going and saying yes. And I figured, well, I'm Presbyterian. I was born Presbyterian. I can do things, I can lead people, I can get things organized, and I enjoy what I'm doing.
And we enjoy you.
Thank you.
Always helpful, always helpful. So next question for both of you. And Lee, I know you've served on council, but I want you to try to stick to CTM for now, because that's where you're currently serving. And Judy, same with you for council, because both of those commissions do really important and good work, but it can also be difficult. Nominations team is having a hard time filling some open positions on those teams. And I'm wondering if you could speak to others out there, a word of encouragement about, again, what inspires you to be serving on those particular teams, and what benefit others might find in serving on those teams, and not just benefit to them, but benefit they might give to others within our presbytery.
Why don't you go first, Judy?
All right, I will. So I'm going to focus on being a member of the council, which is, according to my understanding, is we are the governing body of the presbytery. And the members of council are both ministers and elders. And we get together once a month or as needed, and we talk about issues that are affecting the business portion of the presbytery and the congregations of the presbytery, and what's going on within the peoples that make up our presbytery. We have some tough decisions that we have to make concerning issues that come before our presbytery. But the nice part about working with all the people on council, and everybody is absolutely wonderful. I couldn't ask for a better grouping of people. But the nice thing is that everybody thinks before they speak, and we share ideas. And sometimes after listening to what someone else says about an issue that we're dealing with, I think, wow, I didn't even look at it that way. So it's refreshing to me that we are able to do that. And I think anybody who is interested in what we do at the presbytery level that affects all the churches in our area should consider saying yes when somebody calls and asks them to serve on council or any committee.
Thank you. And Lee, how about you with the Commission on Transitional Ministries? Because that's a newer commission within the history of the presbytery, because we'd restructured some things. The presbytery will always have a council. That's part of our governance structure as Presbyterians. But then the presbytery can determine other commissions or committees that it needs to assist the council and the greater presbytery in all of its work. And so Commission on Transitional Ministries really hones in on supporting congregations when they're in a pastoral transition of some kind, as well as if there's any kind of internal conflict or whatever that needs to have some support or mediation. And that's not always the easiest work, because people aren't always in their best mood during those times. Anxiety can be high and everything. And yet I know the people on that team, including you, are people who really care about the well-being of our congregations and the people in them. So Lee, what can you say about serving on that team?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, the transition is always, any transition, doesn't have to be just in the church, is always unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
And so presumably everybody has been through a transition in their church at one time or another, where their pastor has left. We have a few real long-termers in the presbytery, but almost everybody's experienced that. And so if you feel like you can lend any assistance or just a hand to another congregation that's going through that, that's why I would say people should be on CTM.
Mm-hmm.
If that is something that you feel you can offer, again, we have all of the tools, and they're not perfect tools. They need to be tweaked and adjusted for every situation. But we have a process, and it's nice to be able to go into a congregation and say, we have been through this before. We've helped
Mhm.
other congregations. Here is a roadmap, and we
Mhm.
will walk alongside you and help you in whatever your needs are as you get through this process. And you looking, if it's a pastor leaving, you're looking for a bridge, and then you're looking for an interim, and then finally to call your next pastor. We'll be with you the whole time. And, and yeah, we have a great group of people, and we could use more
Yeah.
to help us with that. We want to make sure that the interim process that our congregations go through is good. Um, we have wonderful interims that are in the presbytery now and have been in the presbytery, and we're supporting them and saying, here's the steps that we want to make sure you're going through with your
Mhm.
congregation so that they can come out of this transition healthier and ready to engage and welcome their new pastor.
Mhm. Well, and that time of transition is so important for to me in both saying goodbye to the pastor that is left, whether that was a good parting or a
Mhm.
difficult one. Um, to have that goodbye and that time to transition to figure out, okay, who are we now? And what kind of pastoral ministry do we need? So as you said, we're at our healthiest place as a congregation when we call our next person to thrive in the best possible way.
Yep,
So there really is important work that your team does.
it
Uh,
is. It is.
and for both of you, one of the things that we struggle with across the Presbyterian, really right now within the church, broader church, whether I hear it the same from Methodist colleagues and UCC colleagues, across the board, is that it can be difficult right now to recruit leaders, period. So, as a Presbyterian, as Presbyterians, we are all about empowered servant leadership, and really being a denomination that is focused on leadership that comes elected from within the body. So, our presbytery isn't like some other entity of Big Brother watching. It's made up of the people within our congregations that serve like you all are. Um, so as we look at how we empower new servant leaders, what words would you have of encouragement or wisdom from your own experiences, both within the congregational setting and as a presbytery, that we could do to encourage and equip people to serve, both within their congregations and at a presbytery level, which means what they're doing is they're helping their fellow churches and ministries to thrive?
Judy, you want to start or you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
All right. Um, One of the big things, maybe the biggest thing that we are seeing or I'm seeing is just time. People
Mhm.
saying, I don't have time to do this. So I know at Forest Park, we are trying to address that and really focusing on the idea that you don't, to be on session does not mean that you have to chair a committee.
Mhm.
Right? You can have other people chair the committees and you be on the committee, you be on buildings and grounds or worship or whatever, and report back to session any business that needs to be taken care of. But you don't have to, put together the agenda and
Mhm.
schedule meetings and whatnot. Other people can do that. And the opposite is true. Like I don't feel like I'm able to spend enough time to be on session.
Mhm.
Well, can you chair a committee meeting, a committee, and just organize them and get them, make sure that they're moving and doing the business of the committee. Another one that we're working on at the congregation is that committees don't necessarily have to meet every month. Certainly over the summer, I chair the finance committee at Forest Park, and over the summer we try to take off at least 2 of the months,
Mhm.
um, and maybe once in the spring. The fall, we also do the stewardship, so fall is kind of busy for us in that way. And of course, we always have to pay attention to the finances. But in those months that we don't meet, we send the reports out via email and just say if you see any questions or problems, just communicate via email. And if it's something we need to address, we'll just do a little ad hoc meeting really quick.
Mhm.
Um, and so likewise for other committees, they don't need to meet every month, and freeing up some time that way. And similarly at CTM, I'm trying to, as the moderator, I'm trying to make sure that we're not overburdening
Mhm.
individuals and trying to divvy up the work as best as we can. Some of the larger congregations, we might put 2 people as the liaison for the congregation. Or, well, if they're if they're struggling to find, an interim or whatever, we may bring somebody else in just to help from the team, to help that person so they're not overwhelmed in assisting that congregation. And just, again, trying to divvy up the work in other ways as well. But yeah.
So I think
So
that's a good piece to mention, because not piling everything onto a certain group of people is really helpful, both for empowering leadership and not burning people out. So coming up with ways to figure out how do we include more people, not so that everybody's being piled on with work, but so that we divvy things out so that people can engage and feel useful and needed and function in a healthy way. And as you said, we've been working on it at the Presbyterian. That was part of our restructuring with CTM, was not to overburden one commission with this huge pile, but to say, how can we, rethink and do this a little bit differently to better function. Yeah.
Yep. And we're still thinking about that. We continue to figure out is this necessary? Do we need to do this bit of work or that bit of work? Is there a different way that we could do this that might be more streamlined?
Yeah, that always happens. And as Presbyterians, we do believe in reformed and always reforming. And that includes how we govern and structure ourselves so that we can maximize what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
so the last bit is I encourage people to say, this is too much.
Yeah.
Like, just say it, because if I don't know that, or anybody else doesn't know that you're feeling overwhelmed, then we're not going to focus on that. But if you say, this is getting to be too much, like, okay, then we can discuss and how can we lighten that burden, rather than just burning out or just walking away. What can we do so that it can be an appropriate level of work that you're able
well,
to.
And I think, as you said earlier, that's an important thing to ask too on the front end. What's a manageable amount for you? Because I know I've had some people that say, well, I'd like to serve on this commissioner team, but I'm concerned that I won't be able to meet the expectations. So to have a conversation about what are those expectations? What do we need from any given, commission or committee member? What's reasonable? And in their term of service, knowing that for all of us, certain things come up with our families or situations that become, important emergencies. And how do we support one another through those so that you're not feeling overburdened while you're trying to serve in multiple ways?
Yeah. And it's not a flaw to feel overburdened.
No.
Right? That's not a flaw. So yeah, I encourage people to say, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, feel empowered to say I'm overwhelmed. Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
Feel empowered to say that. Judy, how about you? What words of wisdom would you have?
Just say yes. Oh, well.
Give it a try. Give it a try. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, and sometimes I think some people at the congregation level will not want to recommend somebody for something because they will think, oh, they don't have enough time, or they've got children, or and what we need to remember to do is we need to ask, and we need to let the person we're asking make the decision as to whether they have time or they can carry this load. And it's interesting, I too think people don't have a lot of time, but it's amazing how much time people really have that they don't realize is time that they could put to some good use if they chose to. My concern is sometimes people don't want to make a commitment. And I know that when I first was asked to do something, even at my own local church, where they wanted me to be a trustee, and I said, well, I do travel a lot. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We'll take you because we want your service, because the times that you will be here, you will make a difference with what we are doing as a working group. So I think if people would realize that they wouldn't be asked to do something if somebody didn't recognize that they've got a talent or a skill
Mhm.
that's valuable. And say yes, but it's okay to say, I don't have as much time as maybe
Mhm.
I should be giving, but I'm willing to at least give it a try because I believe in the way we're going at the presbytery level. So
Mhm. Thank you. One, and I can't remember the numbers of the exact statistic, but church studies have shown that because usually the language is 10% of the people do all of the work. But within the church, I'm trying to think if it's like 50 or 60, 70% even of people, when asked, say they have something to give and participate that's never been utilized or asked of them. So we've got more gifts and unused skills in our congregations than we give credit for. It's just figuring out ways to encourage and empower those people. So I want to say again, thank you to both of you for saying yes. And I want you to keep saying yes, as well as call me if you're feeling worn out or tired, because you know I love you. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this Empowered Servant Leadership series. Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you, Anne, for all you do.